a lot going on these past couple of weeks, haven't there? In fact, last Monday, during church council, we took some time, more time than usual, to pray. Because there's just so much to be praying about. We could have probably spent the whole evening praying. Between shootings and fires and loved ones who are sick or dying or grieving or underemployed, there's a lot. Between not enough rain and too much snow and famine and earthquakes and threat of terrorists and nuclear war, there is a lot. Between refugees and war-torn countries and the depleting ozone layer and giraffes going extinct, there is a lot. And then, because of wondering if that SMUD bill is going to be able to be paid on time, and what is that funny looking mole, and is that person still mad at me? And when will those test results come back? And how am I going to be able to bite my tongue with Cousin Betty at Thanksgiving when she spouts her political views that are so wrong? And fear of failure. There's a lot. I don't know about you, but sometimes I can hardly catch my breath. And so when I read this passage from Matthew's Gospel today, to be perfectly honest with you, my first gut instinct reaction is to scoff. I mean, Jesus really doesn't seem to get it, does he? Does he not own a TV or have internet access? How can he even be suggesting that we shouldn't be worrying? There is so very much to worry about that my head is spinning. And as a culture, we exceed at worrying. It's who we are. It's what we do. And I can hardly breathe. I don't know if it's because of our society or just who we are as peoples or humans, but we seem to have this fear of scarcity that goes along with worry. Have you noticed? I buy toilet paper in bulk, even when I already have bulk cases of toilet paper, because I don't want to ever run out. And as a state, we fight over water, as if the people in Southern California don't need it as much as we need it, because we're afraid that there might not be enough. As a society, we aren't always so welcoming of strangers in town or strangers who are immigrants or refugees to our country, because we're concerned that there's not enough space, not enough jobs, not enough resources. And so we hoard and we stock up and we pile so much food on our plate that we can never eat it all. Check yourself this Thursday. Because we want to make sure that we are filled and satisfied. even if that means that someone else doesn't get a taste. And then along comes Jesus, telling us, don't worry. Like it's something we can control and just turn off. And then he goes and uses logic with us and reminds us that the same God who feeds the birds and clothes the lilies and the grasses is the same God who is with us always. Inhale, exhale, repeat. In this passage, Jesus is reminding us that God is present with us in the everyday, mundane, and in the chaos when we don't know which way is up. And Jesus is inviting us to step away from our fear of scarcity and to participate in the kingdom of God, where there is abundance and generosity. And it can be a struggle, can't it? To trust that abundance and generosity when you look around and there's so much to fear and the world seems empty and bleak. I think these are the times when we need to refocus our eyes. Reverend Fred Rogers, we usually know him as Mr. Rogers, once shared that his mother taught him, when you see scary things on the news, to find comfort, look for the helpers. I think we can do that, can't we? Mm-hmm. We can find comfort when we see all of these firefighters and first responders willing to risk their lives for those who they haven't even met. We can see God's abundance when we watch all of those volunteers at shelters and food closets who are providing for the needs of those who have lost almost everything. We can see God's generosity through those who have been willing to open up their homes to strangers who were forced to be evacuated, and through opposing teams who provided brand new uniforms and pads for the Paradise High School girls volleyball team so that they could still have a chance to compete. Inhale. Exhale. Repeat. Where else do we see God's abundance? I mean, right here, with family and church family, who reach out to us with prayer, with shoulders to lean on, with listening ears when we are hurting. We see God's abundance with those who so passionately serve at the community meals and the food closets, and gathering together supplies, all this food for those who need a little extra help. And we see God's goodness in the children when they come back from craft time and are so excited to show us their artwork. And in each other, when we do God's work with our hands. Inhale. Exhale. Repeat. You see, in this passage, we find that Jesus actually does get it. And it's because he gets it that he comes to show us what God's abundant, generous love looks like. Jesus reminds us that this God who wants to be with us so much, that God became human, born in a barn because there wasn't enough room in the inn. It's the same God who promises to be with us in our worries, in our fears. Because Jesus gets it, he pulls us out of our dark places of scarcity and into the light, God's light, where there is this abundance and so much to be thankful for. Breathe with me. Inhale. Exhale. Give thanks. Repeat. Now, I know usually during the sermon time is a time when you all sit there and listen wide awake, sitting on the edge of your seat, so excited to hear what I'm going to say next. But right now, I want to hear from you, because I think that if we allow ourselves, we can find so many more things to be thankful for than maybe we have to worry about. So, if you are willing, I'd like for you to speak up and share something. You can share more than one thing that you are thankful for. I know we're Lutheran, but you can do it. People of God, what are you thankful for?
Family. Good health.
Family, good health.
Friends and neighbors. My long life.
Long life.
Friends and neighbors.
Friends and neighbors.
Husband congregation.
A good husband. What?
This church and the congregation.
This church and this congregation. And their generosity.
A safe place to live.
A safe place to live. One of my daughters, I won't embarrass her too much, you can figure out later, during bedtime prayers used to give thanks for the walls and the ceiling. Like, you know what? Yeah. We don't thank God for that enough, so I am thankful for these walls and this ceiling and all who are here. Good and gracious God, we thank you that in your mercy you have created us and you have created the world good. We thank you for all of your abundant blessings, and we ask that you give us fresh eyes to always see them and enable us to be the helpers when there is need. Amen.
Amen.